story, then you be the judge. New York is fast becoming known as Sioux City, where citizens don't settle disputes among themselves, they take them to court. In fact, so many lawsuits are being filed, tens of thousands every year, that it's become big business. The city complains too big. And it should know, this year the city expects to pay out more than $250 million on personal injury lawsuits alone.
Everybody out of the building!
Virtually any time disaster strikes in New York City, the city gets sued, and the number of cases is mounting. 19 lawsuits against the city for the World Trade Center bombing. 51 for the Crown Heights riots. 94 for the Happy Lands fire. And a staggering 470 suits for the Gramercy Park explosion. To date, New York City is facing a backlog of 50,000 personal injury and damage lawsuits against it, with 10,000 new cases added every year.
I think it's a very severe problem, and when you look at what New York City pays out, hard-earned taxpayer dollars.
As corporation counsel for the city of New York, Paul Crotty is lobbying the state legislature for changes in the law, which would make it more difficult to sue the city. He also wants to eliminate jury trials and place a $250,000 limit on awards for pain and suffering.
Here in the United States of America, I'd say that New York City bears a higher exposure than any other municipality does.
It gets sued more often.
Gets sued more often and pays out more in lawsuits.
What notes were significant to you? And what
On almost any given day, at least 20 lawsuits against the city are going to trial. In this case, a woman unwittingly set fire to herself in a city hospital and later died.
Our judgment was poor.
The family sued, charging the city never should have allowed the victim to possess a lighter because she suffered from Alzheimer's disease.
Jesse Sledge had a severe dementia, as I described before, and Jesse Sledge was not competent and not responsible for her actions at that period of time.
Yet the city is most suspicious of so-called slip-and-fall lawsuits, lawsuits generated by simple cracks in the sidewalks. Often there are no witnesses and little evidence the fall took place.
I think the number of fraudulent cases has been increasing.
Chief of the Tort Division, Eugene Borenstein, says more slip-and-fall lawsuits are filed against the city than any other kind of case.
A lot of people are claiming they fell on a defective sidewalk, and we see that it's simply not true. They fell because they were dizzy, they passed out, they were intoxicated, or they fell in their homes.
But before it can be sued, the city must have had prior written notice of cracks and potholes. So naturally, the very lawyers who file these suits have mapped every single defect on New York City streets. They did so by forming the Big Apple Pothole and Sidewalk Corporation. Its president, Bert Blitz.
The city of New York has the worst sidewalks, the worst intersections, the worst curbs that I have seen, certainly in any city in this country. Worse than Beijing, and it's inexcusable.
I think that it bears public scrutiny, and if I were you, what I would do is take one of the maps they file and go to several street corners and see if you can find the defects that they allegedly map and give the city notice of. That's what I would do if I were you.
We took his advice. We checked several of the maps against the real streets, and you know what we found? Cracks and potholes exactly where the maps said they were. However, it isn't only the average citizen who takes the city to court. Guess who's 20 times more likely to sue for personal injury? New York judges, according to Spy magazine. When we sent I-Team producer Emily Backus to check court records, she confirmed a number of judges have demanded huge sums of money in their suits against the city. As a matter of fact, the U.S. Attorney's Office refuses to comment on its reported investigation of now-retired Judge Francis Pecora on suspicion of perjury. He filed 3 personal injury lawsuits. Former Judge Marie Lambert filed 5 multi-million-dollar personal injury suits, 2 of them against the city. State Supreme Court Judge Irma Santaella received an $18,000 settlement for a slip and fall in a courthouse. Judge Beatrice Shaineswit and her husband both sued when he slipped and fell. She withdrew her case. He settled for $6,500. And Judge Alfred Toker not only sued for loss of consortium when his wife fell on a broken Manhattan sidewalk, but also filed a $3.5 million slip-and-fall lawsuit against the Transit Authority this year. Attorney Blitz represents former Judge Lambert.
The criticism of these judges filing a suit has been that they know the system, they know there's easy money to be made, they're filing these suits. What do you make of that criticism?
Well, I don't abide by that criticism. To begin with, a judge is a citizen. They have a perfect right to their legal rights, to seek appropriate recompense, an appropriate remedy for a negligent condition.
Burns of the skin would be in the severe category. They're painful.
With so much money at stake, lawyers pay big bucks to hire big guns like Dr. Michael Bodden, an expert in the O.J. Simpson case.
Eventually, she succumbed to the continuing deterioration of her lungs, kidneys, and blood, and this culminates in a cardiac arrest.
The jury found the city liable and awarded the family $1.4 million.
So do you believe that New York City has a lawsuit problem?
It's a good, healthy sign, in my opinion, that the courthouse doors are open as distinguished from closed. I believe that it's an indication that the profession is performing its function, that people's rights are being protected, and I don't necessarily find fault with the fact that business is brisk.
You make a lot more money when business is brisk.
Well, what's wrong with that? I don't see anything wrong with being successful at what you do. I don't know anybody who doesn't get paid for what they do. And if they do it well, they should be paid better.
Krista Bradford, Channel 9, I-Team.
Now let's go over to Lloyd, who has a big hello for us.
Yeah, thank you.